About 45% of Americans struggle with anxiety. And while therapists are requiring you to take a medication or dope you up, I think there is a serious way to improve your anxiety without having to take drugs, without having to dope yourself up. The best way to get rid of your anxiety is becoming your best self. Now, I struggled with anxiety all throughout middle school. I remember the very first time I had an anxiety breakdown was in my 6th grade. I had gotten my first piece of homework ever assigned to me, and it was in a world history class or something of that nature. And when I got this piece of homework, she said, if you don't turn it in, you'll have to stay after school for 30 minutes. You'll have to stay in my classroom and work on it. You get some kind of late penalty or something of that nature. And when I heard that, when I finally realized what consequences were in the world, I broke. Like, it literally, as a 12, 11-year-old, however old I was, I just broke down. That day, I tried to hide it. I would go through my periods. I had tears forming in my eyes. I had this ball in my throat start forming, and I couldn't shake it. Eventually, one of my teachers noticed. My English teacher, she saw me kind of basically crying in the back of her class. She pulled me into the halls, and she asked me what was going on. And as soon as she asked me that, I just started bawling, started crying. And I was embarrassed to admit what had happened. I was embarrassed to admit what was going on. So instead of admitting that, I actually lied to her. I told her, instead of, I'm worried about this piece of homework I got in my world history class, I told her I dropped a knife on my foot. And that probably wasn't the best thing to say, because she took me to the nurse's office. She walked with me. And when I got there, I still made up the same story, was lying about it, just saying, I don't know what's going on, take me home. After that moment, it was a turning point in my life, because I started allowing myself, when I felt anxious thoughts, to lie about it. Because I learned in that moment, lying about it gave me an opt-out. If I lied about how I was feeling, people treated me differently. They gave me more attention. And I didn't have to face my problems, which allowed the anxiety to go away for a moment. But in all seriousness, it came crashing down. Eventually, when I want to say maybe in 7th grade, 8th grade, I kept running from my problems. And I remember there was just one day where I had a wake-up call. I was hanging around people that, I just lied to. They didn't really know who I was. I had a lot of internal problems going on. And in that moment, I realized I didn't even know who I was as a person. I didn't even know, what I stood for. I didn't know who I was. And although I may have been in 7th grade, the truth is no 7th grader should be lying about their problems. No 7th grader should be going through stuff and not talking to people. But I was. And that's where everything changed. Now, I still struggled with anxiety a lot going into high school and whatnot, but it was a lot better because I first owned up to the problems, right? When I was going into freshman year, I changed my grades. I started getting everything up. I was pretty good in school. And it was because I just admitted when I was having something wrong. I started taking accountability with my lustful thoughts. I started taking accountability with my homework. And I started growing a lot. I saw my freshman year as a huge turning point for my life. But I wouldn't have got there if I didn't first admit. And that's the hardest part, is admitting when there's something wrong. But the truth is, when you have anxiety, when you have something going on in your heart, you have to be able to own up to that. The truth is, I still have anxiety about a lot of things. I think now my anxiety stems over my business and also my future relationships. I run an online fitness coaching business, and for the last 4 months, I've been able to get more and more clients. Last month was my best month yet, and it's not like I'm making $20K a month, but I am really proud of where I'm at. But I notice myself still worrying about it. I also notice myself still worrying about having a wife, because I know right now I'm not ready. But it makes me wonder, will I ever be ready? And I want you guys to understand, if you're not able to admit to the problems you have today, you're not going to be able to solve them tomorrow. There's a fly here. Why is there a fly here? Do I stink? I'm going to make you have anxiety, boy, about waking up tomorrow morning, because you ain't. That's the very first thing. Being able to admit when you're wrong. Being able to admit when you have something going on is probably the first step towards growth. The second step that changed my life recently was becoming my best self. And a lot of people throw that term around. They're like, oh, I'm always working for my best self, for my marriage or for my kids. But then you spend 4 hours on social media. And then you go out and have McDonald's. Then you go and you stay up till 12 doing very horrible things to your body, like watching that website. Maybe it's staying up late, doom scrolling. It's stuff that does nothing for you. And if you ask yourself, would my higher self be doing this? Is this what my best potential would be doing? If the answer is no, then you should probably stop. And I think a lot of people don't understand what it means to be your best self. What it means to be your best self is meaning that you're chasing after that person every single day. You're chasing after your purpose every day. You should always be asking yourself in almost every instance, I would say, do it 5 times a day, where you ask yourself, is this what my higher self would be doing? And if the answer is no, get off that train, baby. Like, go do something else. You can't be doing the stuff that breaks you. So for me, when I asked myself, is this what my best self would be doing? And I was out drinking, I was out hanging out with girls, spending time on websites I didn't need to be on, that's when the answer became clear, that I wasn't my best self. I wasn't chasing after my discipline. And I changed. I started getting in the gym. I started reading better books. I started reading about self-help. I started getting in cold plunges. I started eating clean foods. And all of a sudden my anxiety went away because I chased my best self. Here's a little tip for you. If you struggle with anxiety, you won't struggle with it when you're doing something hard. The other week, I was on a 8-mile run. I set out at 9:30 at night, and man, I had hit legs that day. I hadn't had a lot of calories, so I was really tired. 1 mile in, I was cramping like crazy. From hitting legs a couple hours earlier, I was not recovered, obviously. And after mile 1, it hurt to take each step. Each step felt like my quad was about to fall off. But I pushed through, and I made it to mile 5, but they were like little daggers just in my quads, and I felt like every time I fully extended my leg, I wouldn't be able to really pull it back up. But in that moment, halfway through my trek, I realized something that I wasn't worrying about tomorrow morning. I wasn't worrying about my lead generation in my business. I wasn't worried about my future wife. I was simply worried about making it back alive, because not only were my legs cramping like crazy, but I was in the middle of night running where there was nobody around. Nobody could save me. Nobody could pick me up. I had to do it. And when you're in a moment of, this is hard, this sucks, and it all falls on me, you're not worrying about tomorrow. You're just worrying about getting through that. But unfortunately, my legs got so bad that I had to limp the last 3 miles. I limped the last 3 miles back, and was it enjoyable? Absolutely not. But looking back, I would do that every single day of the week if I could. Because the truth is, in those moments, they build you, and they allow you to actually understand who you are. So I think if you're going through some kind of anxiety, do something that's hard. You know what's easy? Sitting on your bed, watching TikTok, letting your thoughts consume you. But what's hard is going outside when nobody else is out there. When the sun is setting and the couch is warm, your family is home, the TV's on, but you have these thoughts in the back of your mind still. that's when you need to take up the courage to get out and do something. Go for a workout, go for a run, go take a cold plunge if you only have a couple minutes. Do something that takes you out of your head and puts you in survival mode. I was actually listening to a Crew Mahoney podcast, and he was describing it so well. He said that his anxiety went away when he basically went into survival mode. Like, you're not going to think about the homework that's due tomorrow when your body is trying to figure out a way how to survive in this cold plunge. When I heard that, I was just dumbfounded because I had never thought of it like that. When I was listening to that podcast, I had a lot of worrying thoughts because I had given up my business. I was like starting to go to college. I was doing a lot of things that I knew I didn't want to do. And in that moment, I was like, dang, I'm running away. I need to run to survival instincts, and I need to run to my problems because those are the way to actually become better. That's just a side note. But I think those are the biggest two ways to actually change your life. If you want to get rid of the anxiety, first own up to your problems and understand who you are. The second thing is do something that's hard. Do something that's really freaking hard. I'm not talking about having a one-time conversation with your spouse. I'm talking about getting up, making it a mission to have 30 days of no junk food, making it a mission to do a mile run every single morning at 6 a.m. Whatever it is, just do something that takes you out of your head and puts you in this present moment, because that will change your life. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more. If you're wanting some more help on your journey to your best self, I have linked to my website in the bio. I would love it if you would book a consultation, call with me. It's free, just so I can understand where you're at and where you're wanting to go. And from there, we can see if it's a good fit. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great day.